Mommy, I'm hungry. I want your milk. Oh, Roland, you're always so needy. I'm in father-in-law's hospital room. On my laptop, I see my husband saying something like that to my mother-in-law while on her lap. What is this? This is disgusting. I'm getting goosebumps. At that moment, there is a knock on the hospital room door, and I looked at the person who entered. My name is Sarah. I am 55 years old, a homemaker, and work part-time in a supermarket. My husband Roland and I have been married for 30 years. We are blessed with 3 children, a boy and 2 girls, all of whom have their own families and live happily, independently. My husband Roland is a typical husband manager. He did not participate in any of the housework and child rearing. He told me that I should do everything myself. I was the one who attended my children's school events and took care of everything when they had a fever. When I was the only one in the family who had the flu, I still did all the housework and childcare, and my husband always put his parents first. Even if we went out as a family on rare occasions, he would go to his parents' house as soon as he was called there. My mother-in-law loved my husband so much that she would often call my husband to come over, and he would leave his family behind. My mother-in-law blatantly hates me. We live a short 20-minute drive away, and sometimes my mother-in-law shows up on Sundays, and she gives me money with a disgusted look on her face when I am there. Then she says this: "Take this and go to the cheese shop in the next town over and get some artisan cheese, just for me and Roland. None of it is for you," she said. The cheese store in the next town is a popular place that is a 1-hour drive away. In short, it takes a while to get there. And even though she said it openly in front of my husband, he didn't blame her. "My mom says so you should go there as soon as possible," he would say to me. He does have a bit of a mother complex, but there is nothing decisive about it, and I am no longer that interested in my husband. After 30 years, we have no feelings for each other. We just exist there, like air. But unlike the two of them, my father-in-law was a very nice man. He was a good-natured, lonely, and a cat lover who doted on Kiki, the cat that he owned. "I want to see Kiki. I want to see her face." I remember my father-in-law had mentioned this to me when he was admitted to the hospital for testing, so today I brought my computer along with my parents, who wanted to visit my father-in-law. I brought my computer to use Zoom, which allows you to have video calls with others. With this, I'm going to show them Kiki at my in-laws' house. The nice thing about Zoom is that a number of people can join in the conversation at the same time. Today is Sunday, and I am off work. My son's family and daughter's family will also join Zoom because they want to see my father-in-law who is in the hospital. My mother-in-law does not know anything about computers, so my husband will go to my parents-in-law's house to set up the computer. Since he has been using Zoom at work for the past few years, he said he would take care of the setup. In the hospital room, I finally got Zoom hooked up. We had a private room, so I didn't have to worry about my surroundings. "Ah, Grandpa, is your appendix okay?" "Grandpa, I was so worried about you." "Hi, Grandpa. Get well soon." "Thanks a lot. I'm fine." My father-in-law seemed happy to hear words from his grandchildren and great-grandchildren on the other side of the screen. My parents' eyes were drooping at the sight of their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, whom they hadn't seen in a while. "Oh, we are finally connected. Dad, look, it's Kiki." A few moments later, my husband appeared on the screen with my mother-in-law holding Kiki in his arms. It took him some time to join in. "Oh, Kiki, how are you doing? Are you eating well?" "Meow." Once Kiki appeared, my father-in-law put all his attention to him. "Grandpa, you look happier than when you saw your great-grandchildren." My son jokes, and everyone began to laugh. It had been a long time since all the relatives had gathered together, so everyone was in a lively mood. Time flew by as we exchanged updates on what was going on in our lives. My father-in-law was also able to see Kiki, and we finally decided to call it a night. "Bye." "Okay, bye." We waved to each other, and I was about to press the end call button. Then I heard the sound of a phone ringing. "Oh, it's from my job. Excuse me for a minute." My phone rings and I rush out of the hospital room to pick up the phone. The reason was that there was a space to take calls set up by just next to the hospital room. The caller was my coworker, who asked for a shift change. I agreed, and when I returned to the hospital room, I felt something strange. My parents and father-in-law were staring at the computer screen. My mother was so surprised that she was holding her mouth with both hands. Before I could say, "What's wrong?" my father put his finger to his lips as if to silence me. My father beckoned to me and pointed to the computer screen. I looked at the screen and let out a muffled scream. There I saw my husband, who was pampering my mother-in-law, using her lap as a pillow. The two of them gazed at each other, entranced, and my mother-in-law gently stroked my husband's head. I had left the Zoom connected because no one but me knew how to operate it, and they probably thought they had turned it off, but they hadn't. My mind went blank, but I hurriedly set the microphone to mute. Now, they can't hear our voices. They can't hear us now, so we can talk now.
What the hell is this?
My father is stunned. I knew he had a mother complex, but I didn't think it was ever going to be like this. I was also stunned by the scene in front of me. They rubbed their noses against each other, looked at each other and laughed, and no matter how you look at it, it was not a mother-son relationship. His mother complex has gotten much worse. I hear my husband and mother-in-law's voices coming from the other side of the screen. Hey, Mommy, who do you like better, me or my dad? Are you going to ask that question again? Roland, you know the answer, but you still ask, huh? You're so cute. Mommy loves you more than anyone in the whole wide world. I love you so much for giving me the answers I want. I was absolutely speechless. My husband, who calls my mother-in-law Mom in front of me, is now calling her Mommy. The scene in front of me was so unrealistic that I was at a loss for words. Or rather, it was so sickening that I even started to feel slightly nauseous. Are you okay, Sarah? You must be in shock, my mother asked, rubbing my back. I must have looked very pale.
Sarah, please sit down. You look terrible. I'm sorry about my wife and son.
My father-in-law urged me to sit on the chair next to the bed. It's all right. Well, I mean, shock is shock, but I don't feel betrayed or anything like that. I dare say that I'm shocked to find out that what I used to think of as my husband is just trash. Trash. It's rude to say that when his father is here. Excuse me, Roland, is it always like this at home? My mother asked my father-in-law in a fearful manner.
No, they are very close, but I've never seen anything like this. I don't know what's going on either.
Apparently, my father-in-law was seriously puzzled. When I looked up, I noticed that my son and daughter-in-laws were also there on the screen, with the same blank expressions on their faces. My mother-in-law and her husband had suddenly started playing a kind of trick, so I must have missed the right moment to turn the camera off. I felt sorry for them, having to watch such a disgusting thing. Ding! The sound of an incoming text. Huh? What? The text was from my son on the screen in front of me. Record this! Press the record button! I came back to myself and pressed the record button on the screen. This would record the entire video. Mommy, I'm hungry. I want your milk. Oh, Roland, no matter how old you get, you'll always be a spoiled child, won't you? Because you are Mommy's child. Ugh, I want to puke. I'm seriously nauseous. What am I being shown? I feel so sick.
I remember when I was inside you, Mommy. I wish I could go back.
Saying that, my husband is thrashing and rubbing with his cheek against my mother-in-law's belly. Everyone watching it was in raptures. Disgusting. We were all no longer able to say anything because it was so disgusting. My sons and daughters were also shocked. I know they didn't take their clothes off, so it didn't look like a romantic relationship, but even without that, it was still really creepy. Hey, Roland, I'll ask the question this time. Who do you like better, that woman or Mommy? Mommy, you like being spoiled too, don't you? Of course, Mommy is much, 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 much better than that woman. She is just a woman one who cooks the meals. At these words, everyone in the room except my husband and mother-in-law looked angry. By that woman, of course, they were referring to me. At that time, the word divorce was already flickering in my mind. We were all feeling sick and angry and beginning to think about what we were going to do. That's when it happened. There was a knock.
Hello? Excuse me.
There was a knock at the hospital room door, and a well-dressed man and several men in work clothes entered. I stood up and bowed to the familiar faces. Hello, sir. Thank you for always taking care of my husband. The person who came in was the president of the town factory where my husband worked. The person who came in with him was my husband's colleague.
Hey, Sarah, long time no see. And I heard you're finally in the hospital, old man. It's my day off, but I had to make a delivery on short notice. I was in the neighborhood, so I thought I'd stop by.
The president addresses my father-in-law in a friendly manner. They are actually childhood friends, and my husband joined this factory through my father-in-law's connections.
Shut up, and I'm just here for appendicitis.
My father-in-law smiles bitterly, retorted, but the president, noticing his somewhat listless mood, nodded his head.
What's the matter? You don't seem like your usual self. No, it's just... What's wrong?
My father-in-law becomes quiet. He was probably upset by what had just happened. A silence fell. However, my husband's cat-like voice broke the silence cleanly. "Mommy, I love you!" I was about to shriek. Oh no, I was still connected to the call, but it was too late. The president curiously looked at the computer. His colleague also took a look, wondering what was going on. "I love you! I love you! I love you!" Roland, Mommy loves you too!" While saying this, my husband is on my mother-in-law's lap, rubbing face on her belly. My mother-in-law is also rubbing her cheek on my husband's head.
What is this? Is that Roland? Huh? Isn't that his mother with him? Hey, what are these two doing?
The president gets upset and then stiffens up. A perfectly legitimate question is coming out of his mouth, and I can no longer help but agree with him in my mind. It's not a small child and his mother. It was just a hellish scene of a 56-year-old man and a 79-year-old grandmother playing with each other.
Oh my god. Wait, this is really bad.
My husband's subordinates started to take out their phones and start filming. As I watched, I thought to myself, my husband's career is over. I looked at my computer screen and think, is it time to stop watching this creepy thing? With that said, I unmute it. Now, my voice will be heard over there. I take a deep breath. Then I say with maximum sarcasm, "I'm so glad you can be like this with your mommy, Roland." Suddenly, my voice made my husband burst out, and he raised his upper body from his mother-in-law's lap, and the two of them scurried around. This way, look at the computer. My husband and mother-in-law stopped moving and turned their eyes to the computer. There, they saw myself, my parents, my father-in-law, my children, and their spouses. And when my husband and mother-in-law saw the president, his colleagues and subordinates, their eyes went wide.
Huh? What? When did you start watching this?
We've been connected since the beginning.
Dad, did you see it too? Our kids too? Why is the president and everyone here?
I had never seen my husband so frightened before. The fact that he was so upset that everyone saw him must mean that he was aware that he was doing something incredibly wrong. We all saw it clearly. You guys are crazy. Frankly, it was disgusting. My father-in-law, who is usually calm, said this. I could see my mother-in-law trembling, even through the screen.
Dad, Grandma, to be honest, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm related to both of you.
Me too. I knew you didn't care for Mom, but I didn't think you were this much of a jerk. I agree. Don't you ever hold my baby again. You're disgusting. I don't know what you will do to them. The kids take turns talking. My husband and mother-in-law say nothing but meaningless noise. Furthermore, the boss and his colleague also throw words at my husband.
I'm disappointed in you, Roland. There's nothing wrong with loving your mother, but you've already gone off the deep end. I can't fire you for flirting with your mother, but there are others here at the company who have seen your aberrant behavior. You just have to be prepared for the fact that you'll have to think about your future.
Roland, I've known you for many years, but I'm a little taken back.
Hey, Roland, guess what? I took a video so I can show you. It's insane.
My husband is horrified.
A video? You took a video of that?
I've been recording this from the beginning, I said crisply. I have neatly filmed the two of you from start to finish. With that in mind, let's think about various things in the future. First off, I will not be returning to our house for the time being, starting today. Please understand that. Well then, excuse me. With that, I ended the Zoom call. It is hard to believe that it was only a couple of minutes. It felt as if hours had passed.
What should I do, Sarah? To be honest, I can't feel any emotion other than sickening after being shown such a thing. This is not parent-child affection, and to be frank, I think it's abnormal. I didn't notice any signs of them being like this, and it's my fault for not being able to stop them. I am truly sorry.
Suddenly, my father-in-law bowed his head. His words were firm, but I could see he was despondent. It's not your fault. I knew he loved his mother, but I didn't know it was to that extent. Please don't be concerned about it. Since then, I've decided to pack up my belongings, leave home, and stay at my parents' house for a while. My husband would take care of the house, since we had been living in a rental house under a contract in his name all along, with the idea of living with my parents in the future. I decided to let things settle down, but the image of my husband rubbing his cheek against my mother-in-law's belly kept coming back to me. I couldn't imagine living under the same roof with him anymore. After a while, I called my husband to a nearby coffee shop and confronted him with the divorce papers. Please divorce me. You know the reason.
What's wrong for loving your own mother?
I wish you had been cared for me as much you cared for her. why are you so reluctant to divorce me, even though you were all about your mommy the other day? If you divorce me, you can rub your cheek against her belly as much as you want, I said in a loud voice at the coffee shop. My husband was so flustered that he signed the divorce papers almost as if he didn't care. After leaving the coffee shop, I felt fine. Why didn't I do this sooner? Why was I clinging to a man I didn't like? I couldn't help but wonder. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law had begun to live separately. He has worked hard and has a good pension, so he doesn't have to worry about his finances, and he seems comfortable living with Kiki, whom he loves very much. He said that although his wife had not been unfaithful, it was impossible for him to accept her relationship with their son. He doesn't think they are the same person. According to what my father-in-law told me, after that, my ex-husband's video was noticed by many people in the company. He was immediately labeled as the creepy mommy's boy at work. Thanks to this, female employees stopped approaching my ex-husband at all, and he even became a hindrance to their business. He lost his place in the company and was finally forced to resign. My ex-husband got his wish and got to live with his great mom. Good for him. Even if he doesn't have to pay rent, how is he going to live on his mother's small pension now that he is unemployed? As I was wondering, they came to my ex-father-in-law to ask for money, and even at that time, they were holding hands. My ex-father-in-law was so angry that he turned them away without giving them a single penny. I told the supermarket where I worked part-time about the situation and asked for more shifts, and they recognized that I had worked diligently for many years and rehired me as a full-time employee. My husband's absence has conversely reduced my stress level, and I now live comfortably on my own in my apartment.